Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Bitter Geeks Podcast, episode 22. Welcome back from our unintentionally long break. Last time we did an episode was about 8 months ago in the build-up to Rebel Moon, and since then both parts of Rebel Moon have come out, at least the initial cuts, and I'm sure some of you are waiting for our thoughts and opinions on them. This really isn't going to be the video about that, as if you guys have been listening to our podcasts at any point in the last couple of years, the podcast is kind of geared more towards Lord of the Rings, so this is going to be another episode about that, because the Warner Brothers just announced a bunch of new Lord of the Rings movies coming out, so that's going to be the main topic of discussion. So if you're here for anything like Rebel Moon related or Zack Snyder related, or if you, for some odd reason, think we're going to be talking about anything DC related or that god-awful new Superman suit, no, that's not going to happen today. So
no, thanks.
We're not talking about that.
Yeah, so if you are still here and you want to listen to some Lord of the Rings, all 29 of you that usually tune in for our Lord of the Rings content. Well, welcome. And if you're here and you've listened to our Lord of the Rings stuff in the past, here with me are the same people who usually talk with me about Lord of the Rings. If you guys want to reintroduce yourselves, go ahead.
Ladies first.
Oh, okay. Hi, it's Liz again. I'm Atheist J Liz on Twitter, if you follow me. And yeah, I'm always here for the Lord of the Rings stuff.
Yeah, and I'm Josh. On Twitter, I'm Josh Too Good For You. And I talk about a lot of Lord of the Rings stuff and Snyder stuff too. I used to talk about DC a lot, but not so much now.
Dead.
If I give away my thoughts on that, I'll have thousands of angry fans yelling at me, so I just don't ever touch on that.
Yeah, so DC, I don't know if we've ever really delved into this. So Zack Snyder really is the reason why all of us got to know each other in the first place. Liz and I initially got familiar with each other on Tumblr back in the day. So we followed each other for a while, and then I had to unfollow when she started bashing The Force Awakens when it first came out. So there was some distance there at the time. But we reconnected. But
some distance there.
Hey, I was very heavy into Star Wars at the time. I didn't need no negativity in my life.
And now you've learned that. You've learned and you've grown as a person. Josh hasn't, but he'll get there.
Wow.
Hey, I still like Star Wars. I'll still defend aspects of Disney Star Wars. But anyways, that's not why we're here. So we got connected that way, but like I said in the beginning, we aren't really going to be delving into a lot of the Rebel Moon or really any DC stuff. So here we're mainly talking about Lord of the Rings. And out of nowhere the other day, Warner Brothers announced that they are going to be working on some new live-action Lord of the Rings movies. The first of which is going to be Lord of the Rings: The Hunt for Gollum, with returning Andy Serkis as Gollum, and he will be directing. So I guess that's the first thing we can really talk about. I'll kind of just start off real quick. Look, I absolutely love Andy Serkis, and his work as Gollum will go down as some of the most important character work and motion or performance capture work in his work will go down as some of the most important in all of Hollywood, and Gollum as a character I think will go down as one of the most iconic characters of all time in film. That being said, much like the Gollum game, it's just why? Is there I feel like we covered a good amount of Gollum in the movies, and again, if you guys have listened to our stuff in the past about Lord of the Rings, my knowledge really comes from just the movies and Wikipedia summaries of the books and characters, and then what I've seen on Lord of the Rings Twitter/TikTok. So my knowledge is very limited. So Liz and Josh here definitely know more than I do. But from my point of view, it just doesn't seem like we need like a whole movie just about him. Like, again, I love Andy Serkis. Like, I think it's very cool that he's coming in to direct. Like, I trust his ability to direct, and I know some people were like, "Oh, well, the Venom 2 sucked, and he directed that." Whatever. I had a fun time with Venom 2. But like Gollum, it's his baby, and like even though he wasn't like a huge part of the Hobbit movies, like Andy Serkis was still very much like a big part of like the motion capture stuff, like with Smaug and all that kind of thing.
Yeah. I think he was unit director too. Like, I think he was like second director.
I think you're right, like second unit. Yeah. So like,
second unit.
Yeah, and obviously like Middle Earth and this whole thing was like a big part of why Andy Serkis is Andy Serkis as we know him. So like, on the one hand, I'm happy that if they're doing this project, it's him doing it. So on that note, I'm okay with it-ish. But just as a concept and as a story, like, I just am like, why? Because we have the other movie coming out, which Warner Brothers is like, I don't know if they're burying or like they don't have any faith in it or whatever. But they announced this
it's
2 or 3 years
like
ago.
Amazon.
War of the Rohirrim, which is something that, so they announced that movie. I want to say like not long after I watched the trilogy for the first time, because I watched the trilogy for the first time in its entirety, December of 2020, like New Year's 2021. And within like a month or two, they announced that movie, and from the get-go, I was excited, because they were bringing back Miranda Otto to do the voice over as Éowyn, and like it was going to be about Hammerhand, like all that stuff sounded so interesting to me, and the movie itself sounds interesting, and like the fact that they're doing like an animated tale in that world, like it's new, it's different, like it's characters that like the story makes sense to be told this way. It's not like it's like, hey, we're making a young Aragorn movie. Like it didn't feel like they were just capitalizing off of the Lord of the Rings name. So the fact that like that movie is, I don't even know what stage in production it's in because they announced it forever ago. But like, I want to know more about that. Like, I don't know if I really needed Gollum. Like it just, yeah. So that's just kind of where I'm at least with this particular announcement. But yeah. So what do you guys think, Liz? I know you said you hate it, but let's go deeper into that.
I was
a champion for it.
No, God, okay, I'm not that either. No,
okay, I'll let you
I was just saying what I thought Nick felt, and I was correct. I don't really hate it. I agree with everything you said, that they should probably consider marketing the movie that they have coming down the pipe. But there a lot of Lord of the Rings projects aren't marketed very well. I don't know if anyone else has noticed that. Yeah, I want to see more of that movie, and I still really like the idea of animation being something that we see more of in Middle Earth movies. Like, that's exciting to me. But again, I'm not a champion of the Gollum movie. But, I have thought before that, like, it would be a really easy spin-off, whether it would be a show or a movie. I kind of always pictured it more as a show, because Gollum is a central character in a movie seems like a hard sell to me. Because he's just such a good supporting character, and he's kind of a weird main character. But I always thought that it would make sense for there to be some other project involving Gollum, not the video game. I never really thought that made sense, but something where you would bring Andy Serkis back, and it's partly because it's him, because it is Andy Serkis, and he clearly is very attached to the role, and he can make movies as himself. So it always seemed a natural route to take to do something more with Gollum, and he does have yes, we saw the chunk of his story in the Lord of the Rings, the most important part of his story, and yeah, you could definitely say that that's enough. We really don't need any more of him. But it's true that there is a section of his story that we haven't seen yet, which is after Bilbo leaves him, after he takes the ring and leaves the Misty Mountains. Gollum, after that, did, go looking for him, and he ended up, around Dale and Erebor. And then eventually he was captured by wait, was he captured by Aragorn first or Sauron first?
I think Sauron first.
Okay, he was captured by Sauron then, and that was when he gave up where Bilbo is. And then after that, I guess Aragorn found him. And then he was thrown into the Mirkwood dungeon, which, again, is that, I mean, I think there's certain intrigue in that for sure. Is there potential that we'll see Sauron? I think even Gollum says that he actually saw Sauron at some point during that capture, which could be something really
his hand, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, it was something
but,
like that.
The way that the movies depict him is
right, that he hasn't taken
really
physical form.
in the way it's done in the books. Right.
So but they could stretch some of that.
They can. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think there are definitely, moments in that section of Gollum's story that I think would be really cool to see on the big screen. Now, is it my very first choice for a Middle-earth movie? No, it's not. But I think that at the very least, I'll be excited to see, and I'm not mad at the idea. What if we get some cameos from the actors who were in the Hobbit movies? I'd be so happy to see Lee Pace as Thranduil again, or maybe just a couple of the dwarves if they show Erebor quickly. That would be cool. I mean, I know you hate him in the movies, Nick, but we could see Luke Evans.
Hey! I just want to say for the record, I don't hate Luke Evans. If anyone who would just
is a Bard hater.
Hey, real quick, I just want to make a note. I don't hate Luke Evans' character in the Hobbit movies, because we were just watching The Desolation of Smaug together recently. And I just said that, I'm just not that big on the character. I don't know why. I can't really explain it. It's not really, an acting problem or, a writing problem, really. It's just, I just don't really care for the character's presence. But it doesn't mean I hate him. He's perfectly fine. I just don't care.
All right. So that's all fair. But anyway, so those are my thoughts. That, it is not my first choice either. I wouldn't have picked it. But I think that there are things about it that I could greatly enjoy. So there you go. That's it.
Josh, what do you think?
Tell us why you hate it.
Well, okay, look, I don't hate it. I don't hate it either. But I am bummed, because, what Nick was saying, I feel like we spent a lot of time with Gollum already. It's just I love that character a lot, and I love Andy Serkis, but it's this world is so huge. There's a lot of content that I want first aid stuff, but that's not going to happen, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. They can't do anything in the second age, so it's just I get it. They have to do something in the third age. This story takes place in the third age. Gollum is a popular character. Although, I think that was stupid for a video game to do that. But this actually makes more sense to do this in a movie. A lot more sense. So I'll give them that. But it's just we spent so much time with him. I just feel like they could do other things in the third age. And they probably just don't want to take that risk, I guess. Maybe they just want to take baby steps, but I feel like Lord of the Rings, the original trilogy, it was already so impactful, so they could just do anything at this point. If they just did the Battle of Dale and Mirkwood, and that's in the third age, we will see Lee Pace back, and we will see bards like grandson or something like that. His son, I think.
One of them.
Yeah, his son and I think his grandson. But and we would see Dane in that too. But I think I would be more into that. But yeah, here is just like we're kind of rehashing things a little bit. I mean, not completely because this is kind of it's not a new story, but it's a section that was in the books and they didn't really, it's not, and we haven't seen it before in live action. So, you know, like I said, like I get it, but it's just a little bit redundant. So, but it's not like I hate it. Like, am I going to go see it? Of course. Like, do I think it's going to be good? Most likely, because I feel like Peter Jackson. I'm a huge Peter Jackson fan, and the people. Sorry about that.
It's fine.
There's a lot going on out here, but perfect. They have flaws, but I feel like here, like I think if Warner Brothers don't intervene in any bullshit, and there's already some bullshit going on already, but I think work.
Josh, you've cut out. Oh no, he's gone. We've lost him.
Yeah, sorry, this isn't like the most high quality podcast, but we're relying very much on just like average Wi-Fi, cell phone signal, things like that. So please bear with us as we figure these things out as they happen.
Josh, we'll miss you. It was nice hearing you talk for a little while. I think you just cut back in for like a second.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes,
you're good.
now I
Can you hear
can.
me? Okay. How long was I gone?
Oh, just for like
10
seconds.
a few seconds there. You were. Oh, God.
Oh, okay. I mean, I'll just say, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I'll just say like I have my issues with it, but I still think it'll be good. Like I like the team that's involved. It's just not what I'm like. My disappointment is just that it's a character that we spent a lot of time with already.
Yeah. And that's ultimately my thing. Like I figured like before I even saw that it was the Gollum movie as the first like really big announcement, I was just like, oh, like I'm sure like we're probably gonna get some sort of like early version of a character we've already met. So when I saw the Gollum announcement, I was like, okay, well that's unfortunately not surprising. But like, yeah, just overall, it's just I'm just like in the middle. Like I'll watch it, but I'm not walking in with like the most excitement. And I just feel like this particular movie doesn't really need to exist. But I don't know. That's just me. Like it's really neither here nor there. Like I'll just wait to see until we get something a little more tangible. Again, the big thing is just if it wasn't Andy Serkis coming back, and if Peter Jackson was like absolutely not involved, then my opinion would be much more negative. But as it stands with what we have heard so far, I'm more okay than not with this movie coming to fruition.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like they had also announced that they're working on like 2 other movies or something like that. Am I right?
Oh, I didn't see that.
I think there's one other movie that they are doing that they haven't announced yet.
Young Gandalf.
Yeah, that would be terrible.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah,
like
we don't need that, really.
Like, especially with, like, Warner Brothers' current leadership, like, David Zaslav, like, I'm sorry, he is honestly one of the most incompetent CEOs I've ever seen in my entire life. just like on not even like dancing girl and like all this stuff, but just like just from like an objective point of view, like what the fuck is that dude doing?
Yeah.
So like him, like and wanting to work on these new Lord of the Rings movies or like wanting the studio to do these, that's also kind of gives me a lot of pause because like obviously Warner Brothers is really struggling. Outside of what Barbie, like most of their recent stuff has not done well, like at all.
Mm-hmm.
So they want to bank on something that, at the very least, even if the Hobbit movies were very like mixed reception, they still made a shit ton of money. So even if people don't necessarily like this movie, people went and saw those movies. And granted, like it's unfortunately, a lot of, Tolkien fans are like, oh, I'm tired of this new woke bullshit and, like, fucking Rings of Power and showing people of color. And it's like...
Yeah.
Like, unfortunately, those make up too much of the fandom space. So I don't know how much that would have impacted potential box office of anything new coming out. Granted, like, again, Rings of Power isn't connected to whatever Warner Brothers will be potentially doing, but just seeing how loud and just how many awful people there are in the fandom right now when it comes to any content regarding Lord of the Rings right now that isn't the original Jackson movies. Like, it's just, I just don't know. Also, if Lord of the Rings is quite as like safe of a choice to be making new movies of to this extent. Like, again, well, a lot of people want to go to see a Gollum movie just because it's a character they already know. Like, I don't know if Gollum is really the character to do it. I mean, granted, again, Gollum is an iconic character. Like, my precious, like, has been like memed and referenced to death. Like, it's one of the most iconic movie lines in all of Hollywood. Like, it, again, he's a very iconic character, a very well-known character, but again, like, just because he has some famous lines, does that mean people want to watch a whole movie about just him? I don't know.
Well, that's why... Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I was pretty much wrapping up what I was saying.
Oh, no, I was going to say that's why, like, because I told my dad about it, and he was like, oh, that's cool, like, because I said Peter Jackson is involved and stuff like that. He was like, oh, that's cool. But he was like, are we going to see Sauron? And that's where, like, I feel like that's part of the problem, because it's like I was telling Liz, like, yeah, Gollum is really popular, but, like, I feel like at this point, people want to see, like, other stuff. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think even casual fans, like my dad, he's a big fan of the original three films, and he likes the Hobbit movies too. But, like, I think, like, he's really invested in, like, the deeper stuff because he wants that kind of thing. Those kind of things are kind of like they're touched on, and we see it, but not heavily. Like, Sauron is such like a mysterious figure. Like, we know of him. We see him in the prologue. But I'm just using him as an example. Like, just like, just things like we hear about, like, the Witch King. Like, they could have did the Angmar War and stuff like that, but it's like they want to do something more. Maybe they will do it eventually. I don't know. Maybe that's what the second movie might be that's unannounced. Because I'm glad Peter Jackson was like, he shut down the young Gandalf and the young Aragorn thing. Although I feel like young Aragorn makes sense because there's actual, like, lore stuff that they could work on with that. But Gandalf is just, you can't do him young. He's old the entire time he's in Middle Earth, unless, like, you do him as, like, in his original form. But again, like, you can't do first age material. But yeah, that's just where how I feel about all of this stuff. Like I feel like my brother is the same thing too. It's like, we've seen Gollum, like, but I think, like, people will watch. I think people are going to watch it. It's just like some fans are going to feel like that, and then like I also had tweeted the other day, or yesterday, that like it's hard in general. Like at this point, it's really hard to talk about any of the stuff that I really like, because it's like fandoms are really just irritating. Like it's just because
you don't
really
say,
irritating, man. Like it's like because both sides now, it's like both sides of the Lord of the Rings fandom. Like the good side is a little bit annoying to me, because it's like, oh, Peter Jackson ruined this, he ruined that. And then the the fucking racists are like woke this and woke that. It's like, where's the middle ground people at? Like you guys right here, but it's just like there's not enough. There's not enough. So it's just is it like, I think the movie will probably do well, and as far as War Rohirrim goes, I think it'll do well too, but it's like I don't know when they're going to start marketing. I mean, I know that they showed some footage at CinemaCon, and I'm not sure like what was the reaction to it or whatever, but they did at least show something that we just haven't seen it yet. But maybe at Comic-Con or something like that. So
yeah, I think it will be at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to me that was always just such a good idea, because it was a completely different story and it was animated. But I mean, it's like a familiar location, but it'll feel really new. I'm looking forward to that movie a lot, and I think it'll be July when we first get a look at it.
Yeah, I agree. I'm like, honestly, and that's the thing. Like, I want to make it known, like, I'm not against any new Lord of the Rings movie. Like, it's just at least attempt something even slightly different. Like War of the Rohirrim, it's again familiar setting, and they're bringing back Miranda Otto, but otherwise, it's doing its own thing. Like, it's not necessarily totally banking on the fact that, oh, hey, you've seen the Lord of the Rings movies, so now you're going to watch this one, too, because you know these people. Like, it doesn't feel like that. And granted, we still haven't seen any trailers or anything, so as far as I know, the trailer could be exactly that. It's like, hey, remember when? But just as far as I know, like, or just what I can gather, that movie doesn't feel like that. And I just would like more of that, not just with Lord of the Rings, but just movies in general. Like, I don't need, like, super obvious, like, not just, like, fan service, but just, like, give the audience a little more credit. Like, be a little more creative. Like, you don't necessarily have to bank on, like, hey, remember this? I feel like so much of modern franchise movie making is just that these days. It's just, oh, hey, you liked this, so we're going to give you more of that, but younger.
Yeah.
So it's just, I'm tired of that. Like, I don't, like, yeah, I just really hope that's not the direction that the new era of these Lord of the Rings movies is going to get into. So I'm hoping that we get something good out of it. Yeah, I just want there to be good content. Like, I want it to feel like no movie needs to exist, but I just want whatever comes out to feel like it justifies existing. Like, that it doesn't feel like just like a cash grab for the sake of Warner Brothers essentially being broke. And yeah, but again, and I do think the timing is interesting. Like, obviously it's not like right after that game came out, but like that Gollum game really is really regarded now as one of the worst game releases of all time. And like, I don't think I've seen a single positive thing said about that game. And again, granted, it's a video game and it's not a movie, but like, that's the most recent Lord of the Rings product, and it featured Gollum as the main character, and it did horribly. So to kind of lead your announcement with the same thing, essentially, I don't know if I would have done that necessarily, or at least given it a little more time. Because Because again, like I feel like I've seen a lot of conversation being like, we literally just went through this with a Gollum game. Why are we doing this with a movie? And I think that's absolutely fair to bring up. Like, I feel like overall I have seen a lot of good discussion regarding this. That it's a lot of the conversation, at least that I've seen. Granted, because I mute a lot of the racists and the trolls and the bigots and all that kind of stuff. But like the normal people that actually have good conversation, I feel like have been, express their opinions, and like they're more or less in the same boat as us, just like happy that Andy is back into the one doing it, but overall just like, why do we need this? So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, but I just hope whatever they do next, because honestly this isn't necessarily the project I would have let off with. Mm-hmm. Like, even if it's Andy coming back and directing it and Peter Jackson is involved, like, I would have maybe let it off with a more confident choice. Again, and especially given the circumstances of, again, the last project of anything Lord of the Rings related that has come out recently being a Gollum game that absolutely flopped. I just feel like that wasn't the smartest announcement on their part, but it is what it is. Mm-hmm. But I just, I want to be optimistic, but just, again, it's Warner Brothers, and knowing them, like, as much as I'm happy that Peter Jackson is involved in some capacity, and that, at the very least, there's people involved that actually care about the franchise and these characters. It's Warner Brothers, and that's where I get the most pause. And so I don't know how much faith I actually have in a lot of this stuff going forward, but I guess we'll have to wait and see until like a trailer comes out, or like more stuff comes out about like what they're actually doing with this property. Because to be a Lord of the Rings fan right now, it's a very weird place, because we have Rings of Power. Eventually, season 2 will come out. I think it's supposed to be this year, but we've seen or heard like literally nothing.
There's supposed to be a trailer this week, or excuse me,
next week.
Next week.
Well, this upcoming week, yeah.
Okay.
Supposedly, listen, it's not like they've told us that. This is speculation.
Well, there's been like
little rumblings of things, like
little rumblings, nothing concrete.
Well, I mean, but I feel like it is. I think it is something probably.
See, if they were like a decent company, they would have posted something this week, like an image or something, and said like just dramatically like trailer next week. That's all it would need to say. But like. What do I know?
If they were competent, they would have done that like months ago. I mean, they would have at least something on his birthday. I mean, for fuck's sake. But anyway,
Josh and I talked about this a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think something is coming at that event on Tuesday. So we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just like. And, like, we have made our opinions on the Rings of Power very known at this point. If you, again, are one of the 20 or so people who have listened to our Lord of the Rings or Rings of Power discussions. But, like, it's just... There's not a lot of confidence in the Lord of the Rings sphere right now. From fans and from the studios in charge of these properties. So it's just... I would almost rather there not be anything on the horizon and be pleasantly surprised if something were to come out that was good, than this weird limbo of not fully trusting either studio responsible for these things. Because again, I want to be excited for War of the Rohirrim, but Warner Brothers ain't doing shit to promote that movie other than the few concept art images we got 2 years ago. And then
that one bothers me less because at least it's not coming out until December, and movie trailers sometimes are 6 months out. So I'm a little bit more lenient on that.
And it's animation too.
And it's animation. Yeah, that can really take a long time. So I'm giving more of a break to that one. I have no mercy for how badly they've dealt with Rings of Power. No, that just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and I understand that like that show was very. A lot of fans hate that show, and like I'm not gonna get into like that whole thing, but like regardless, you're putting a lot of money into that show. Like, why not market it? Like, especially if you want it to do well, show people what you got. Like, I don't understand this, like, hiding it until right before.
Secret. It's by showing nothing, they're building up the anticipation, or that's what people think anyway.
Well, and the weird thing is that, like, the anticipation for season 1, this might be kind of fucked up to say, was the best part of season 1.
The anticipation.
Nick went there. Nick said, "Wow, like anticipating season 1 was better than the actual season."
And I don't hate season 1, but like,
I don't think I've said anything that crazy about it.
That's pretty harsh.
And again, like I don't hate the show. I want to make that clear as well. But I actually enjoy it more than I don't. But like, yeah, it was just a really fun period of time, like waiting for the trailers, and then like. That title announcement.
I actually agree, though. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the title announcement was so fun. The first image that we got was really great.
And those posters of like all the characters, I thought those were great. And I was like, oh yeah, who's this? Like this armor's really cool, and like these weapons, and like who's wearing these rings? Like that was so much fun, and we've gotten literally none of that.
The Comic-Con marketing, that was fun.
Yeah.
I think
my expectations were different. Like. Just because, like, as a fan, I just wanted second age material for a long time. So, like, when they had announced that initially, I was, like, already excited just off of that. And then we started getting into the marketing and the trailers and all that. And my expectation level was, like, high. But then it's, like, I started really getting, like, watching the show, and then by the end of it, I was kind of like, okay, like, I was just really mixed on it, and now it's like now that it's settled, I'm kind of just like, it's fizzled out, but not entirely. Like, I'm afraid of what's to come a little bit. Like, I'm cautiously optimistic, and when I say optimistic, that has to be like just like I say that like painfully, like it's just I'm really fearful of just based off of like rumors and like things like that. And just
we're not going to talk about those. We're not going to talk about.
I do want to say real quick, like literally. So we're in a Lord of the Rings group chat with a lot of our Twitter mutuals. And, like, so much of the conversations in there are literally just, like, the latest rumor or speculative bit of information about Season 2. And, like, the fact that that's literally all of the info about Season 2 we really have the chance to really talk about outside of, like, the actor for Adar leaving. Like, that's not good. Like, to have, like, literally no, like, concrete real info to like get whatever fan base you have left excited. Like it's incompetence. It's incompetence is what it is. You know, like you have this property. The like again, Lord of the Rings is a huge property. Whether fans are gonna hate watch it, fans are gonna watch it because they like it. Like it's gonna get viewership. So like maybe treat it like fucking Invincible or The Boys or whatever, and like actually show that you give a shit about the property that you spent billions of dollars on.
Yeah, and like we really defended the fuck out of the first season before we even watched it.
Yeah, we did.
I was still defending the show. I was still defending the show as I was watching it, but literally, like, it was like the Snyder days, like the early like BVS days, where it was just like in the trenches dealing with fucking crazy people, and it's now it's just like they want to just put out fake leaks to get like the fans to speculate and just to misdirect us and stuff. It's just like promote the fucking show. Like why do you got like have some spine. Like you know what I mean? I don't know. It was just the way that they're like going about it is just really weird, and in comparison to their other shows, like Wheel of Time, they actually do things like put out rap videos, and they had the lead actress Rosamund Pike, like she was reading pages from the book and stuff like that. Like, where is that for Rings of Power? Like, that's not even like you don't even have to do a season 2 stuff. Like, just do season 1. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's really weird the way that they're going about it. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree as well. It's just it's just baffling when like these studios have these properties and like it's like why continue to invest money if you're going to show that you don't actually care about like are you looking for tax write-offs? Like what the fuck is going on here? Like it's so it's ridiculous. Like and it's just frustrating because, like, if obviously, like, I'm very obviously not a studio head, but if I was, but like, I would use this money to, like, actually, like, try some shit or, like, again, show some amount of confidence in your property, whether people are gonna like it or not. Like, showing confidence, I think, goes a long way in, at the very least, early anticipation for something. Like, if some people, like, if people will believe, like, hey, this might be good. Even if they end up hating it, you're at least getting people to watch by showing something interesting. Like, again, even if, like, obviously I love Batman v Superman, but, like, I remember the anticipation for that. People were like, yeah, like, this looks good. Like, this might be the movie that DC finally catches up with Marvel. Again, this isn't my opinion, but this is just, like, the takes of, like, people who weren't Zack Snyder fans at the time saying this. And, like, when you had, like, people being like, oh, hey, like, they might pull this off. And then you had people in the theaters, again, whether they hated the movie or not, like, you had those butts in seats. And, like, that's really all you need to do. Even if all you're doing is lying and saying, hey, this is going to be great, and it turns out to be shit, at least show, like, lie, be confident and lie. You know what I mean? Like, it... I don't know.
You make good points, Nick.
Thank you. I try.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's not a good. It's just not a good strategy that they're dealing with right now. I think what it is they're trying to avoid House of the Dragon. I think that's part of it. Part of it is I think I think their confidence in the show is shaky, and I think there's a few other reasons, but I think right now, maybe one of the excuses they pull is we want to avoid House of the Dragon. We don't want to be marketing all at the same time as that. But I'm not sure that really... I don't know. I don't think that's really a good argument, because you could just say that about any show at that point. Like, we don't want to compete with this other big show. So,
yeah, I mean, like there might be, like, some credence to that, but, like, at the same time, like, the shows are releasing, like, there's a way more of a gap.
Way apart.
Yeah, than this time than last time. Like, I understand last time if they're like, oh, well, like, House of the Dragon did kind of, like, take away some potential viewers. But, like, this time around, that's not really the issue. Yeah. You know, like, one's releasing in June and the other is September, maybe? Like...
Who knows? No one's told us.
Yeah, it's probably going to be, like, November, December. I mean...
That's what I would guess.
I hope October, at least. But, like, they're saying, from what, like, they've said, I think... I can't remember where it was from, but it might have been Fellowship of Fans that said it, that Amazon said that it was going to be towards the end of the year, yeah. Like late in the year. So.
Well, again, I know it's obviously two different studios, but I do wonder if maybe they are giving it a little bit of time to like maybe build up some like good like Middle Earth word of mouth to get people interested, because War of the Rohirrim comes out in December, so maybe like that end of the year Middle Earth push is like maybe, I don't know, maybe this is just me reaching entirely, and there's absolutely no validity to this whatsoever because they're different studios, but like that's would make a little more sense to me than whatever the hell that they're doing right now.
And you guys can keep talking about it together because I gotta go.
Well, actually, I'll be honest. I don't really have much else to say. I feel like I've kind of like covered my all my bases here, but it's I'll wait and see what happens.
About Rings of Power, so we really covered it.
Yeah, we really did. All right, Liz, will you have a good meal with one of our mutuals?
With Ash, yes. Okay. Well, if you two want to wrap up. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. It's nice chatting with you.
All right, bye, Liz.
Bye.
But yeah, just overall, I'm just at this point, I'm really just like, we'll wait and see what happens, because who knows? Like, Warner Brothers being Warner Brothers, this might not even see the light of day. So we'll see how.
I feel the same way, man. I'm always going to support, because like the other thing people have been saying, like with the Gollum thing, is like, well, both sides have been saying it about Rings of Power and Gollum, about the projects being cash grabs, and I'm just like, yeah, like I think Gollum is more so. You could say that about that more so, but to be honest, like Middle Earth, anything is going to have my money. Like, I really don't care about that side of it. But I mean, like, I do understand. Like, it's like we were saying before. They're banking on nostalgia and stuff like that. But and you know that was. But that was like a problem, a big issue that they were starting to do with DC too, like especially with that Flash movie. But I don't want to get too deep into that. But it's like Warner Brothers. I don't know if this is just a Warner Brothers thing, like because it's kind of like that with Harry Potter too now. We know, and they're redoing that entire series, and that's going to be on the show.
Yep.
On Max.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know. It's just, maybe it's, well, before David Zaslav got in there, they were already doing fuckery. But, yeah, it's just, like, I mean, like I said, like, I wasn't going to play that Gollum game because it just didn't look appealing at all. So, I mean, I do say that Middle Earth, anything gets my money, but, like... That was
the exception.
Yeah. So.
Well, like it's just like my thing is like I will be seated if it seems like it was made genuinely and with effort. Like I don't like, and for like look, I just as an example, I don't want to delve too much into this for obvious reasons, but like James Gunn's Superman movie, all of my issues with James Gunn aside, that movie doesn't feel like it's being made sincerely. It's basically, it literally feels like everyone involved being like, well, we're sorry that you all hated the Zack Snyder version, so we're doing everything in our power to make this the one that you guys want to see. So
yeah,
even if it wasn't James Gunn and all that stuff, and it was exactly the way it was otherwise, I still wouldn't be interested, because again, it literally just feels like an apology, not like a story that deserves to be told. You know,
I mean, the thing of it, I know we said we were going to get deep, we were going to get it deep into this, but like, it's just, it seems like a movie that's just made like to serve, like you said, to serve people who just didn't like Snyder stuff. But it's just really, because Gunn was on Twitter like doing polls like no trunks, or like trunks, should we do them or not? Like, who does that? What director does that? You know what I mean? Like, you're making make your movie.
Exactly, you know, and like it literally, he's literally letting Twitter dictate how he makes his movie, and like that's fucking stupid. Like it's so dumb, and the fans eat it up, and I'm just like, do you guys not see how pathetic this is? Like, it literally, honestly, like, and I mean this wholeheartedly, James Gunn is the Elon Musk of movies. As far as, like, his whole, like, Twitter interactions and all that stuff, like, he's so online, it's pathetic. Like, it's genuinely, it's sad. Like, not even the sad, like, I feel bad for it, but sad, just, like, that's just embarrassing. And so, like,
right.
And like, and again, like, this is Warner Brothers doing this, and Warner Brothers pushing for this, and, like, again, it's a studio that currently doesn't know what it's doing. Like, again, they're bringing in a guy to make a Superman movie. I genuinely don't think that they're making Superman and this whole new universe because they think they have good stories lined up. They're doing it as an apology. That's literally the only reason why. Like, they can give any sort of justification that they want. I don't buy it. I know how it is. And for one, another reason that they're doing it in a time where, like, comic book movies, like, I think the general audience are losing interest very quickly. And with DC in general, too. Like, I genuinely don't think this new Superman movie is going to make that much money. So, like, again, not to get into... I know we're kind of into it now, but, like, my whole point is that, like, they're banking on these properties, and they're not banking on telling a good story first and foremost. Like, they're not making the Harry Potter show because they think they can tell it in a new and interesting way. That's not what's going on.
Yeah.
They're doing it for money, and because J.K. Rowling wants to have full control and be a transphobic piece of shit. And then with Lord of the Rings, like, I feel like that's another thing of, like, Warner Brothers is doing very poorly financially, and it's another instance of, like, okay, let's bank on something that has made us a lot of money before. So I just, like, look, again, because it's Peter Jackson's involvement and Andy Serkis is starring and directing, that gives me a little more faith, but because it's Warner Brothers, I don't think it was initially being made because they thought they had a good story. I think it's because they wanted to just make money.
Mm-hmm.
And not to say that, like, movies aren't made for, to not make money. Like, obviously, like, pretty much every studio released movie the goal is to make money, obviously. But, like, but when it's painfully obvious that that's all a studio wants, like, I will not be tuned in if I know that that it's not being made with good intentions.
Yeah. That's why, like, my thing is just like my main concern is, like, okay, like, this is not my first choice, first, second, third choice, fourth choice for a Lord of the Rings movie, but it's like, okay, if they're going to do it, then don't fucking intervene and, like, let Peter Jackson do his thing, man.
Yep.
Like, and Andy Serkis, everybody involved, because it's like, we know, I mean, Warner Brothers isn't the only studio that does that, but like, a lot of times, like, those executives, they feel like they have the better knowledge of the source material, and then it just ends up being some bullshit. So, but I mean, we'll see. Like, Peter Jackson was having, like, issues with Warner Brothers with the Hobbit, with that. But I'm hoping they don't do that again. But we'll see, I guess.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. And I'm hoping that Jackson coming back isn't just him getting a paycheck. I mean, like, look, if that was the case, like, again, like, I have no issues with him for doing it. But if that is his reason for coming back, that doesn't give me faith in the project.
Yeah. No, I understand, yeah.
But again, if Andy Serkis wasn't coming back or being involved, and if Jackson wasn't involved, I would absolutely be like, this whole thing is effing stupid. Why are we doing this? It's not going to do well. Yeah. But because of their involvement, I'm like, okay, let's wait and see.
Right.
And I want a good product. I want a good movie. I just don't have a ton of faith. So we shall see.
Yeah.
I just want good Lord of the Rings content, man. I feel like it shouldn't be that hard, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, all right. That's I feel like all I really have to say, unless there's something else that you wanted to add in.
No, I think I've said. Well, the only thing I'll say is about. Did you see how they took down the fan film?
Oh my god! Yeah, I almost forgot. So I will say though, I did as we were talking, I looked it up. So it is back up. But yeah, earlier.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. So earlier today or last night, Warner Brothers took down the Hunt for Gollum fan film that was made 15 years ago. 15 years ago, and they had it taken down off of YouTube. And I don't know if it was like a mistake or like there was enough fan uproar that they were like, hey, this was made like years ago. It's not going to interfere with your movie that's not even going to be out for 2 more years at least. So as of right now, it's back online. I haven't seen it. I'll be honest, I didn't know it existed until this morning. But if they did that intentionally, like it was effing stupid. Like I understand they own the property, but like it's been up for 15 years, man. Like if you want to take it down, you should have done it years ago, not like because all of a sudden you decided you want to make a movie with the exact same title, you know. But and even though it's back up, it's another reason like Warner Brothers is shitty. I mean, they've also taken down some of my videos because of fucking copyright, but that's not a real issue here. But yeah, I'm happy it's back up. But yeah, it was just dumb that happened in the first place.
Okay, well that's good then. I had no idea, but yeah, that's just like again like Warner Brothers and that kind of bullshit that they do. But I'm glad that they put it back up though. That's good. Yeah,
me too. And again, just like I understand, like fan films are made without copyright approval and things like that, so like they don't really own these things. But like, if they're not selling tickets or merch or anything like that, just fucking let them do it. Just like leave it up. If